It wasn't always this way. The forest used to be peaceful and beautiful. But now, everything is different. Humans call us Wendigos. And decades ago, I made a mistake. When I was a little boy, I was young and naive. I was wandering my hometown when I saw something move in the distance. It was a wonderful morning. The sun was shining. I looked around but saw nothing. But after a few minutes, I saw a young woman in the forest. She looked like she was 20. She then beckoned me. Me, a very young boy, and not knowing what to do, decided to follow her into the forest. She went behind a tree, and I followed her. She thrust her hand over my neck and lifted me off of the ground below me. I yelped in surprise.
"What are you doing? Let me go!"
The young woman looked at me.
"I will let go of you if you give me the blood of somebody poor. And if you don't do what I ask, I'm going to kill you or do something much worse."
I considered this and decided to lie myself out of my situation.
Okay. I will do it. Just please let me go."
The young girl loosened her grasp and let me go.
"Come back tomorrow or face the consequences."
I ran out of the forest and into my home. And that night I was plagued by nightmares. Nightmares that could have been true if I wasn't careful. In the morning I stayed inside and didn't go out. My parents were worried about me, so I just said that I was tired. I wish I didn't go near that forest, because every day after the encounter, it got colder and colder. My father couldn't grow food anymore. If I didn't do anything about my hunger, I would die. So that night, I went hunting. But not for animals. For something easier. I was stalking my prey when I stepped on a stick. It was loud enough for my prey to turn around and see me. "Who's there?" the person yelled at me. I ran towards the human and stabbed it in the neck. The human laid there, limp. I dragged it into the forest to eat it. In the forest, I was enjoying the feeling of my depleting hunger. A piercing pain went through my head. It hurt so much that I fell down. I hit my head down on the rock, and I blacked out. In the morning, all I could feel was the hunger burning deep inside me. I was too hungry to notice the wet, rotting smell. I stood up, not noticing my elongated arms. I shook my head and noticed it was heavier. I put my hand to my head and felt the hard material surrounding it. I ran to the edges of my village and found a cracked mirror near the garbage cans. I grabbed it and looked into it. Where a face should be was a deer skull. Then I remembered a myth of the Wendigos. But this wasn't native land, was it? An overwhelming hunger took over me, and I noticed a kid walking by. I wondered what I could do. The hunger finally made up my mind. I began to stalk the kid, moving in unison with it. Finally, I made my move. I spoke in her mother's voice, making it sound real.
Ruby, come here. I found something wonderful.
I growled in joy as I heard footsteps approaching me.
Okay, Mommy, I'm coming.
When the little girl went into the forest, I grabbed her arm, clawing her in the process. The little girl screamed and got out of my grip and ran away. I caught up to her, but she was already out of the forest. That night, the people in the village set up traps. I was waiting for somebody to be alone, but that never happened. I ran at the closest person and clawed them to death. The others heard his screaming and came running towards the scene. They saw me, but couldn't catch up. I was too fast. And now, years later, many people have gone missing. But now, I mostly eat the animals. But something has changed. There's something darker now. Now and then I see flashes of fur. I turn around to find what it is, but it's gone. Sometimes I hear it breathing. I feel eyes on me. Something is following me, but I don't know what. Last night was different, though. I heard growling from a bush. I clawed the bush until it was shredded, but nothing was there. Only leaves. The thing also started to bark and howl. It was no wolf or dog. When I tried to sleep, even though I didn't need it, I heard scraping. It wasn't even scraping, though. It was clawing. I looked around and growled. My voice was hoarse and scratchy.
Who's there? Show yourself!
The clawing stopped. The creature didn't do anything. I stood up and looked everywhere. Finally, I saw the creature, but only for a second. Its eyes glowed in the darkness. The creature's ears were brown. They were long and fluffy. Everything about the creature was fluffy. Even with all of its fluffiness, the creature was slim and tall. Everything about the creature was off. It looked like a wolf, but the way it stood. The creature walked backwards and ran towards the town that I hunted in. I decided to try and sleep anyway. That wolf would probably run away. When I woke up, I smelled a strong scent of copper, which was odd because only a human could make a smell this bad. I decided to check out what it was. I stood up and walked towards the edge of the forest. I looked around to see claw marks everywhere, but the scent of blood was coming from a small blue house. And when I looked inside of the windows, I saw a massacre. Inside was a mangled corpse. There were pools of blood everywhere. One human couldn't make that much of a mess. There must have been more bodies. I moved closer to the house, but stopped. There was a broken window, and on that window was a chunk of bloody fur. Fur that came from only one creature in the forest. The wolf attacked the humans. I was about to turn around when something seemed off. The broken glass was facing the outside of the home, but not the inside. It was probably nothing. The wolf could have gotten in another way. But then I noticed something else. Something stranger. The humans around the house weren't doing anything about it. They weren't cleaning up the mess. They were only watching. I decided I would return back at night and get a better look at things. The scent of copper was still thick in the air as I slowly snuck up around the house. I looked for an entrance to where the thing broke in, but there was none. All there was is the broken window. I heard a knocking on a door and a deep growl. I faced the sound and saw to my surprise was the human walking the wolf over to a house. I hid behind a bush and watched. The door flung open, and a middle-aged man came storming out.
Hey, what's the idea of this? It's the middle of the night. Go to sleep, jeez.
To my surprise, the wolf stayed hidden. That was until the human spoke.
You'll do anything for the hunger to stop.
The wolf snapped its head towards the middle-aged guy and charged towards him. The wolf stood on its two hind legs and grabbed the man. The man let out a choked gasp and became blue. The wolf bit the guy's head off and ate him. The guy went limp and got torn to pieces. I let out a loud gasp that caught the attention of the person. The wolf noticed as well and began stalking towards me. I ran full speed at the wolf and clawed at its eyes. The wolf let out a blood-curdling scream and bit down on my hands. I let out a growl as I bit down on the wolf's throat. The wolf went limp. I let go, and then it came back to life, clawing at me, trying to kill me. It was too much for me to handle. I went still. I was waiting for the wolf to stop, so I played dead and waited. Finally, it stopped. I stood up and ran. I found something glistening on the road and noticed a phone. I grabbed it and ran into the forest. This phone will die soon, so I must find something else to write with. So goodbye for now. Thank you all for listening to my telling of this tale. Please, if you would be so kind, leave me a like and share this video. And if you have not already, subscribe so as to listen to me more. May your nightmares be filled with terror, and may they be plentiful. Till next time, farewell.